Hi and welcome to this week's live called On Dealing with the Demons. Before we start, the usual things apply. If you are watching this and you like it or dislike it, a like or a dislike is nice, but actually leave me a comment. If you leave me a comment, even just saying hi or a thumbs up or something in the comments box, then actually the algorithm allows more people to see it. But I'm doing this at virtually no notice. That's the way life is at the moment. It's Easter. We've got so many things going on. So if you happen to come onto this live, then great. If you happen to watch it on catch up, then absolutely brilliant. Hi, Sarah. I can see you're on. So leave me a comment. But if you happen to be watching later on, it's great to have you. And we want to talk about just dealing with the demons. Now, one of the things I notice with all choirs is this feeling that lots of people feel that they're not quite good enough. And that's very often in choirs, there's someone who makes everybody else scared. Now, sometimes they make everybody else scared because everybody thinks that they're really good, and maybe they are really good. And we always worry about that if we think that's not us. But also, we get people who do become a little intimidating by the way they react. If you make a mistake, the people that look round, if you make a mistake, or like to correct people if they make a mistake. And sometimes that's okay. And sometimes it's done out of good motivation, but sometimes it's done because that person has anger inside them, or they feel that they're a bit too good for the choir they're in, or something like that. It can be for any number of reasons. But we have to deal with that because it can put us off. Equally, a lot of people will walk into a choir and find that the choir feels really good and will worry that they're not going to be good enough. So I want to take you through a process which a lot of people probably won't even try. But it's a process of changing your mindset about who you are, how you identify yourself as a singer within your choir group. So here goes. I'm going to give you the method of doing it, and the times and the amount of stuff you do are quite important, because basically you have a subconscious mind which wants to keep you safe and wants to keep you within a comfort zone, so that you don't die. That's what your subconscious is there for. And it doesn't want you to change out of your normal routine. So it's going to tell you to stay in a certain place, and we have to retrain it by giving it information. Now, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between something that's real and something that's imagined. And if you imagine something strongly enough, it will work to change your subconscious, and that will change the way you are. Hi, Pat Napper. I can't see whether anyone's left any comments, actually, because I'm having to do this on my phone because it doesn't seem to work on the computer anymore. But anyway, so here's the method. You take a sheet of paper and you do this for 7 days a week. And you write something on the left-hand side. You'd write 2 columns. On the left-hand side, you write something along the lines of, I, in my case, Jeff, am worthy to be a member of this choir. My voice would shine in any choir. Something like that. Then you write that 9 times. And then underneath it, you write from another perspective. So you, Jeff, are worthy to be in this choir, and your voice would shine in any choir. And then underneath that, a further 9 times, you write, he, Jeff, is worthy to be in this choir, and his voice would shine in any choir. Now, that gives you the feeling subconsciously that you're doing it from 3 different points of view, talking about one person. Of course, that's going to throw up little voices in your head that say, oh, get off, you're nowhere near good enough, that sort of thing. And each of those that comes up, just jot them down on the right hand side of the page. So you've got the affirmation on your left hand side, and then you jot them down on the right hand side of the page. And on the right hand, it doesn't matter what you say, what negative things come up. It doesn't matter a jot. Just write them down. At the end of the first week, you're going to take those things that you've put on the right hand side of the page, and you're going to make an affirmation out of them. Now, this is where we lose a lot of people, because a lot of people are a bit embarrassed about doing affirmations. But if you use them, then they can really work for you. I use one in my daily journaling practice that has made life so exciting. And my life has changed dramatically as a result of using it. So you create an affirmation which basically is the opposite of all the negative things you've written down. So it can be as simple as the affirmation that you had on the left-hand side of the page, or you can go into more detail, because all the little thoughts that have come up are the negative images you have of yourself, and they're slightly more specific than just what you've got on the left-hand side. So if you take those and write for yourself a really clear affirmation that is completely the opposite of what you've said on the right-hand side of your paper, and you use that affirmation for 10 minutes each day for 7 days. Now, if you can do more than that, then do more than that. If you don't have time to do more than that, then 10 minutes will do you. But try and keep that sense that this is something that's real. You can enhance it more by doing what we call sacred or divine questions. So for example, instead of saying, I have the most wonderful voice, you could say, why was I given this wonderful voice? Because when your subconscious is faced with a question like that, it will try to answer it, and it will try to find ways to confirm the things that you've said. So you might say, if you were feeling that you were lacking in energy, you might say, well, why do I have so much energy? Why do I always feel that there is energy to spare at the end of the day? And your subconscious would then look for reasons to believe that was true, and it would look for signs that was true, and you'd start to feel better. So anyway, you'd spend a week doing that affirmation, and then in the third week, you sit down in a chair and you imagine people in front of you. Now, if you have someone that intimidates you in your choir, you could sit opposite them. Or if it's just the thought of being in the choir and worrying about who thinks what of you, you could sit with the whole choir there. And you just sit and talk to them and say, I'm worthy because I've been given this fantastic voice. And I forgive you for the fact that you've made me feel intimidated, and I'm not going to worry about what you think anymore. And you do that for a few minutes each day for a week, and you will find that your whole mindset and the way you identify yourself as a singer will change. To give you an example, I write, as part of my daily journal, I write things like, I have a set thing, and I'm not going to give you all of it, but my life is fantastic, my life is joyful, my life is exciting, my life is full of love, my life is blessed, and all things like this. And there's about 7 or 8 things that I write. And actually, even on the down days, I find that has helped me to remind myself of who I am and who I want to be. And I do find that I wake up excited every morning. My life is really joyful. Someone, my business coach the other day said to me, what would your life look like if you were doing exactly what you wanted to do? And I said, pretty much as it is. I'm loving every minute of it. So that's just a quick way of changing our mindset. An example came up the other day, which I used when I don't know if there are any people from Lord Williams Festival Chorus on this, but I used this in our warm-up before the concert we did on Saturday. And we, in Lord Williams Festival Chorus, it's an unauditioned choir, and there are a number of people within it who clearly have reservations about their own talent and what they can achieve. So I said to them that the other day, whilst listening to a podcast, I was reminded of an experiment that was done some years ago where, and I don't know how they do this, but they did it, where there was a big card and 2 narrow slits were put in that card, and electrons were fired at the card. And while they observed it, they found that on the wall behind the card, there would be 2 columns of electrons hitting the wall where in line with the slits. So exactly as you'd expect, some of the electrons went through the slits and they landed on the wall in corresponding columns. That happened when they observed it. But when they didn't observe it, when they went away and left it and just came back and saw the results, they found that the electrons had gone in really random patterns on the wall, because things only behave in a certain way because we believe they're going to, and because they're observed to do so. People often will react the way you expect them to. If you talk to someone expecting them to be angry, then the chances are something in you will cause them to be a bit riled and they will be angry. And electrons work in exactly the same way. If they're observed, then they will react as they're expected to react. But when they're not observed, they don't. And I used this with Lord Williams Festival Chorus the other day because we were doing a really big concert with a lot of high singing in it, orchestra, fantastic soloists, and it can be intimidating. We had over 300 in the audience, and all that can be intimidating for people who don't quite believe in themselves. And I just said, just observe yourself as something different. Just expect something different of yourself and see what happens. And the results were phenomenal. So I'm going to leave that with you. Just some thoughts about how you can go about changing the way you think about yourself. And you can apply it to absolutely anything in life. But if you apply it to this, it's really, really helpful. And it's one of those things that seems laborious and, I can't be bothered to do that and it won't work. Actually, it does. Just trust it. Trust the process. Write down, I am. You are. He is. All of them saying the same thing about how you want to be seen as a singer. On the right-hand side, write any thoughts that come up, especially any negative thoughts. Then for the second week, create an affirmation based on the opposite of the negative thoughts that came up. And then spend the week sitting in front of the people that worry you or the whole choir and talk to them about how you feel and how you are worthy and how you forgive them for the fact that they make you feel intimidated. And you, most importantly, forgive yourself for feeling intimidated, because you are so good that you don't need to be intimidated. Play with that. And remember, our electrons will react in the way we expect them to. If we expect to fail, we will fail. If we expect to do really well, we will do really well. Have a great day.